Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone a minute or so to join. I can see there's a few attendees already. Right, well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Autumn 25 Accelerator Application Webinar and Q&A. I'm Ben. I'm the Accelerator Programme Manager here at Geovation. The first half of this session will be a bit of an introduction into the programme and the offering available to successful applicants. We hope to offer a little bit of application insight there as well. I won't be doing this alone. On the way, I'll be introducing Caroline, who is the Geovation Programme Stakeholder Manager at HMLR, Lewis, our Technical Lead at Geovation, and also I'll be talking to some founders from our current cohort who hopefully all together will give a combined perspective for everyone. And then that will lead us on to the second half of the call, which will be an interactive Q&A, where we'll be giving you all a chance to ask any questions you might have about the programme, whether that's to do with its commitments, the support available, and anything else in between. So if we start with some housekeeping, this session is being recorded for future use. So yeah, it will be available to everyone after the session as well. Please make use of the chat. This is a chance for you to kind of add any questions you might have. Do so as we go along, and we'll revisit them during the second half of the webinar. And yeah, if you could all please stay muted during the webinar, that'd be very helpful. We do have the power to mute people, but we'd like to leave that responsibility of you guys. So should we start at the top as a bit of an introduction about Geovation for those not familiar with us? Essentially, Geovation is an OS initiative in association with alumni and Registry. We are the spearheads of geospatial innovation in Great Britain, and were recently named on the list of Europe's leading startup hubs in 2025 by the Financial Times. As you can see, we've supported over 250 startups, helping them raise £155 million, and our ecosystem is built up of over 2,000 members. And this year, we will be celebrating 15 years in geospatial innovation. So I would also encourage people, whether they're successful or not, and I'll repeat this through the presentation, to become part of our community. I think there's so much leverage that people can gain from that, whether you're part of the accelerator or not. So yeah, follow that link to find out more about that. So the accelerator is very much at the heart of what we do at Geovation. The purpose of this, in short, is to support early stage founders go to market with geospatial data-driven innovations. We run 2 programs a year, and one in the spring, and then obviously one in the autumn. So if not successful this time, then you can always apply again, which is what many successful applicants have done in the past as well. It's not unusual for them to apply more than once. And yes, each program will take on 6 funded teams, and we do that every 6 months. So while the program is run with a single cohort of teams, the application is split into 2 tracks, and we will be selecting 3 funded places from each track. GeoTech is in association with Ordnance Survey, as you can see, and this is about enabling the exploration of new market destinations for location data. So this is actually sector agnostic, even though the term geotech can be quite confusing and it sounds very niche. Yeah, as mentioned, it's actually sector agnostic. So you could be anywhere from financial services to health tech to energy to transport. There really are so many use cases for geospatial data, and that is the purpose of the geotech track. Then there's also the PropTech track, which is obviously in association with Land Registry. And this is about championing innovation in the property sector through land or property data, and obviously more specific to PropTech. And this is probably a good chance to introduce Caroline, who hopefully is on the call, the Geovation Program Stakeholder Manager, HMLR. And if you're here, Caroline, are you able to just give a bit of colour to your involvement in the program and what sort of startups HMLR and Geovation has supported in the past in the PropTech stream? Sorry, Caroline, you might have been muted there.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just messaging you to say I couldn't unmute myself, but you've sorted
Sorry.
it.
We're
So
on it. One technical difficulty.
Cool, yeah. Great for PropTech. One, at least I can sort out that little technical difficulty. But hello, everyone. Pleased to meet you all. So I'm Caroline. I work for Land Registry, and my role is managing the stakeholder engagement on the PropTech programme that Land Registry supports. So we've been doing this since 2017. So I won't take up too much time on this actual webinar, but I'll put my email address in the chat. So if anyone wants to have specific questions or calls with me afterwards, feel free to message me. But what basically we're looking for is innovation in land and property. So previously we've supported companies who are looking for development plots for land, improving the conveyancing process, actually helping people to extend leases, and more recently, we've supported a company that is helping leaseholders manage their buildings. Rather than me take, or in the very beginning, one of our ones we supported was Orbital Witness, which are pretty well known, and they help due diligence in the land and property sector. Now, if you go onto the Geovation website and look under the community, there is a specific slot for our startups. If you go onto there, you can have a good look about who we've supported in the past. So both PropTech and GeoTech, so that's quite useful to do. But basically, we're looking for things that innovate in land and property, think around improving the conveyancing sector, helping people through the planning system, maybe looking at how we can help to build the 1.5 million homes, and alongside that, anything that uses our data. I'll also put a link to our data in the chat so you can see what commercial data is available. So I think that's probably a good overview for now, Ben, and I'm happy to take questions in the chat as we go along as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, I'm sure some people will have some questions for you. And also outside of this, as Caroline says, feel free to reach out to either of us if you're undecided about which track you think you would be the best fit for. And yeah, thank you, Caroline. I'm sure there'll be some questions coming your way.
Thanks, Ben. I'll unmute myself now.
Thank you. So just to give a bit of a timeline for how the application process works. So Open Call is currently live. So this started on the 7th of July and the deadline is the 29th of August. I would encourage people to get submitted before that. It's obviously pretty common that people like to leave things till the last week. But yeah, you've essentially got another month to get your applications in. After that, we'll go through to a scoring process in which all applications will then be scored by multiple stakeholders internally, to which will take us to sifting, where we will select 10 teams from each track to then go through to interview. So if you're unsuccessful at this stage, you should hear back by probably the end of the week commencing the 8th of September. And if you're successful for interviews, which take place PropTech on the week commencing the 15th and GeoTech the week commencing the 22nd, you should also hear back the week commencing of the 8th. Sorry, a lot of dates there. And yes, the successful applicants will start the program on their induction day on the 15th of October. So the program offering. I'm going to run through the program itself, the commitments and the content, the funding, the network we have with our partners, and the tech, and then also the ecosystem. So the program is officially 12 months, but the first 6 months of this is so-called intensive. This consists of a Monday stand-up and a midweek commitment of a workshop, roundtable, or one-to-one session. Once completing the first 6 months, this will take us through to the 6 months of hands-off support. And this is quite literally a couple of bi-monthly check-in calls. But it's also a way of teams to continue benefiting from the offering and to leverage any necessary support, which I think is probably a good reflection of our model as an accelerator in wanting to build sustainable businesses, not just churn them out. I think if you compare us to a lot of other accelerators who take equity, it's a lot quicker, more condensed process, whereas we're kind of here to offer more retained support. Yeah, I hope that answers that. So yeah, referring to the initial 6 months, the intensive part of the program, here's just to give a little bit of insight as to how that might look in terms of content and support. So starting with value proposition, kind of going through to business model, leading up to customer and pricing, product and marketing, and then raising investment, which doesn't always mean to raise invest. It might be support to understand whether you need investment as well, and then pitching on month 6, which leads into the showcase event, which we have every 6 months for each cohort, and coincides with the induction day as well. So if you are successful, you'll be inducted the morning of the showcase event, where the cohort previous will be presenting. And I would mention also, if you've been through some of these processes, like a value proposition canvas or a business model canvas before, don't be put off. This is much as an exercise for us to get to know your business and understand what support we can enhance for you over those 6 months as well. So if you're not having a weekly workshop or at a round table or getting one-to-one support by a provider, you'll be having a work plan call with myself. And these work plan calls are bi-monthly, and it's essentially a way of us checking in and getting a status update with yourselves and your team. This is important because ultimately it's the structure of the program and a chance for me to understand your progress, what you're trying to prioritize, and the impact we're having, and also any additional support we could give you to help with that acceleration. Work plans also act as milestones for the funding. So applicants are set to receive up to £20,000. Successful applicants are set to receive up to £20,000 in equity-free funding. Yeah, these project stages are a way of retaining interest of both parties. They're not completely strict, even though there is some copy in your contracts about each stage. But ultimately, we just expect to see that teams are engaged and making progress. And I think we are pretty fair in how we judge this progress and understand that it can come in many forms. So over the first 6 months, as you can see, will be the first £10,000 split into 3 instalments of 4,000, 3,000 and 3,000. And then after the showcase, obviously, you'll then have these 2 bi-monthly check-ins over the hands-off support over the last 6 months. And that £10,000 is split into 2 instalments of £5,000. So, yes, obviously being a part of OS and our association with HMLR as well, there are no promises here, but there can be benefits of binding closer to them as organisations. This could come in the form of access to authoritative data sets. This could be engaging with product and market teams for opportunities to knowledge share and gain further insight and possibly leverage off their networks as well. And talking of networks, kind of OS and HMLR being government organizations means there's opportunity to directly engage with kind of our aligned network, but also indirectly as well. I actually encourage founders to let me introduce them sometimes to people, because there's a certain way, I think, someone from Ordnance Survey introducing a early stage founder to someone within that network. And if we're talking about data access, I would say our biggest IP is an accelerator, and what makes us unique is the tech team. And so this could be a good opportunity to introduce Lewis, who is our technical lead at Geovation. Lewis, are you able to also give a bit of background to kind of what support looks like from a tech point of view for a founder on the accelerator?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Afternoon, everyone. So, like Ben said, Geovation has a dedicated tech team. Any successful applicant to the program gets a individual kind of mentor to give them support and help them develop and build out their technical solution. That support can be anything from reading CVs, helping you hire the right people, to building little bits of code and proof of concepts, to also helping startups get their head around geospatial data, because we know it's not the easiest sometimes. So we're really here to act as like a conduit to get people access to the right data, connect people up to potential solution providers, and also be a bit of therapy sometimes, because we know the tech can be a bit of a pain. But yeah, happy to answer any questions about that technical support. It's myself as the technical lead in the team, and then we've got Dave, who's our full stack developer, and then Murray, who's our geospatial developer. So good set of experience, and also a lot of time working with within Geovation on supporting startups.
Is it fair to say, Lewis, as well, that I think a common preconception is that you can be very OS biased when actually you are actually quite neutral in the support that you offer. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we won't recommend OS data unless it's the right option. We're here to, at the end of the day, we're here to support startups on your journey and making sure that you're making the right decisions. So sometimes that's, if you've got international needs, like you want to expand to other countries, obviously OS data wouldn't be the right fit. If you've got needs for certain legal things, that's where actually the partnership with HMLR works so well, because we know that data and we can talk through why it's the right thing and why it will help you accelerate your journey. So yeah, 100%. We're here to give you support, really, not to act as a revenue generator. Well, if we can, sometimes it is good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Thank you, Lewis.
Happy to answer. Thanks, Ben. Happy to answer questions in the chat.
I will definitely not be answering any specific questions about data, and I will hopefully be leaning on Lewis for that. So if you do have them, please put them in the chat, and yeah, Lewis can answer them for you. So the third team, if we've got the programs team in Geovation, which is where I sit, and the accelerator, we have the tech team, which sits under Lewis. but we also have the ecosystems team, and there's huge benefit, and often feedback we get from founders is the leverage that early stage founders can get from being associated with Geovation, OS, and HMLR. So this can come in the form of exposure, whether that's on our website, socials, in our newsletter, whether that's in the community, engaging with alumni founders and like-minded startups. And yeah, also it's sometimes opportunity to present at events. Most recently, a couple of founders got the chance to go to UK Reef. So there's a huge amount of exposure and leverage there by engaging within that ecosystem. And yeah, if I move on to the application itself. So before I introduce a few founders, I just wanted to give a few top tips for the application. Firstly, your solution is always important to us, but so is the problem that you are solving. I would encourage people not to make the error of writing about your solution in this first question, simply because it's the most important question in the application. It tells us a huge amount if you answer this question right about your approach as a founder, but also whether we think you could be a good fit for the program and whether there is a really good use case there for us. So please don't write about the AI market and how amazing that is. Please just talk about the pain point you're solving. You'll have plenty of opportunity throughout the rest of the application to talk about the bells and whistles that come with what you're trying to create. And number two, don't worry if you're pre-product or pre-traction. The program is built to have impact. I think this is just a reminder of the purpose of the program, and that validation is very much the key foundation to everything that we do. So we enjoy kind of building products for people and trying to get them to market, but we're also not going to count against you too much if you have already built your product or you've got a little bit of traction. Obviously, there are limitations to that because we will want to help you over those 12 months. And thirdly, don't leave everything to the last minute. Unsubmitted applications will not be considered. People start or forget to finish their applications. And as you can imagine, every year, there are always in progress applications that haven't been submitted. And we would hate to think that they could have been successful applicants. So please, please make sure you submit by the 29th of August. Okay. I'm hoping people's mics are working because Caroline's wasn't. But I would like to now introduce some founders. I can only see Alex on the call, actually. We'll start with you, Alex. Alex is on our current Accelerator Programme, and it'd be good, I thought, to kind of get a more rounded perspective for the possible applicants. And yeah, if you're able to kind of give them a little bit of insight as to kind of why you were inspired to apply for the Geovation Accelerator.
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. Alex Cowell here from Limmi. So I'll start at the beginning. So my co-founder and I, we are working on an app and hardware solution that helps people have a better relationship with their devices by geofencing spaces at a very small level, so room level and building level. And we applied to Geovation because we were interested in the kind of geospatial help or the ecosystem. Neither of us had any background in it, so that was kind of the main draw. We joined pre-traction, pre-product kind of idea only, and then I think a good example of where the accelerator was really valuable was we met a geospatial kind of expert who had his own company in the space in the first week, and he helped us develop our prototype, which kind of got us to where we are today, where we're now trialing a kind of first stage of our working product. So I think it's a really good example of an assumption we had about the accelerator was that we would be able to meet the right people, and that became very true. So that was kind of why we picked it.
Thank you, Alex. I see Pega's on the call as well. Pega, are you able to answer the same question about kind of what inspired you to apply for the Accelerator Programme?
Of course. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Pega from Space, one of the companies at the moment in the Geovation Accelerator. So we applied for a Geovation Accelerator because of the community. So prior to joining the accelerator, we were attending some of the events and coming to different gatherings at Geovation. So I knew about this great community of passionate innovators working on geospatial aspects and PropTech. So when we applied, we obviously wanted to work with people who have a lot of experiences in different startups and different business models that work specifically in these sectors. And it has been absolutely valuable and like beneficial for us because it made us to kind of like validate a lot of our assumptions way earlier than like designing the product and releasing it to the market and then learning some of the features are not exactly fitting the need of the market. So because of the expertise and profession of the team, I think we're a lot more confident now in our product development process.
Thank you, Pega. And can I follow up with a question about kind of your preconceptions of the program before you joined, and then kind of what things weren't you expecting to be impactful as you have joined now?
Of course, of course. First of all, I expected a typical accelerator program, like some one-to-ones, some group workshops. But what was really unique about this program, and is really unique because it's ongoing, is the fact that the team proactively help us finding stakeholders, or like in different conversations, they suggest to us that like we know this particular company, this particular other startup that might be a good partner for you. So they proactively, it's like you're expanding your team. You have people who are also passionate about the problem you're solving and want to help you and provide you with all sorts of support to make you successful. So that was the, like, I think the unique aspect of this accelerator, because it's a lot more than also what you described today, Ben. It's a lot more than this timeline of like set workshops. It's about having this community of people who are super expert and super familiar with the problem area and how you can develop a business to solve some of these problems.
Thank you, Pega. And can I ask you the same, Alex, about your kind of preconceptions and what kind of hidden value you've kind of discovered since joining?
Yeah, I'd say preconception was that, you know, the accelerator maybe might be quite internal focused, and, you know, there would be kind of a lot of kind of structured work, but maybe more on a day-to-day basis with people within the accelerator. But one of the benefits, I think, of being part of Geovation that I hadn't considered was, I mean, in our first week or two, we ended up doing a presentation to the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, which I hadn't even thought about, the kind of external links that being part of a government-supported government, I suppose, sphere accelerator would be, and the people that you can meet on the back end of that. So that was something I just had no idea about, and was a very nice surprise.
Thank you, Alex. And I'm going to ask you both one final question before you leave us. What advice would you give to potential applicants who are on the fence about applying?
I'll start. I mean, obviously, the advice would always be just apply, because you know, you've got more chance of getting something if you put yourself out there. But also, I think being clear on probably what the problem is. I think there's probably a lot of companies at the moment that kind of operating at a very, or can appear to be quite homogenous. So probably be very clear on the problem that you want to solve. And maybe you haven't got the solution exactly right yet. We hadn't, and being in the accelerator helped us get there, but we were quite clear on the problem that we had.
Great stuff. And Pega, can I ask you the same?
Of course. So if you're building in geospatial or PropTech, definitely it's a no-brainer. Definitely apply because of the support, because of the clarity that it will bring in your business strategy, and also the community. So the final point maybe be very clear that what kind of support at this particular stage of your business is required, because from day one you can also shape the program, you can also ask for tailored support from the team, and if you're already clear what kind of support will take you to the next stage, it'll be a lot more impactful for you.
Well, thank you both. I hope that's given some good insight for the attendees of the webinar, and yeah, I appreciate your time. Thank you both.
Thank you, and good luck
Thank you.
applying.
Good luck, everyone.
Right, well, now is the time to put your questions into the chat if you haven't already. I'll give you a little bit of time to do so as I scroll up and have a look. If we start with Jason, if unsuccessful in the accelerator, is it possible to still talk to the tech team about approach to some tech solutions we want to develop? I'm going to pass this immediately to Lewis, even though I could probably answer it myself.
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So as long as you're a member of Geovation, you can book a technical clinic with us. We offer 30-minute sessions. They're free, and we can go cover off a load of stuff in there. So if you're a member, message me on Slack and I can send you the booking link, and we'll get you started. If not, register to be a member. Once you've got in, we do an induction, and we can go through it.
And I think
Thanks,
Emma's shared in the chat as well a link to right at the top to the ecosystem. So encourage people to do so. What makes up to 20K? Is it based on progress? Thanks for your question, Sonia. Yeah, so it's up to 20K. As kind of mentioned in the deck, we have project stages to retain that relationship. And we're not strict about that, but a lot can happen in 12 months when you're a very early stage startup, as some of you will know already. So we've had a case before where after 6 months, the company could not go on any longer because they were struggling. That was actually with the insurance market, which I think is inherently quite hard to sell to anyway. So on their own back said, we can't carry on anymore. So it was a good reason not to have given them the 20K from the off. So we kind of almost drip feed it as a way to retain that relationship, essentially. But as mentioned, we're not super strict. We don't kind of rely on specific KPIs, but we have a format to track progress, and if we're not seeing that progress, that's when conversations around funding not being spent. But I can tell you that since I've been here, over 4 cohorts, no one's had that money. No one's not had that money. They've all had that money, apart from that team who didn't carry on after the first 6 months. So I've gone on a bit of an unusual approach with answering questions because I thought I was at the top, but I wasn't.
Do you want me to do one?
Go for it.
This from Jay. If we're accepted onto the program and decide to join, are there any restrictions on fundraising or bringing in outside investment during the 12-month program period? Would raising funds during the program impact the funding provided by you or how you progress in evaluation? Do you want me to cover it? I can do that one. I know that one. Yeah, there was no restrictions on bringing in outside funds. Suffice to say, it's probably encouraged. We recognise, you're not going to be a successful startup if you can't bring in investment, Innovate UK grants, revenue. So no, it's highly encouraged, and there's no restrictions on it. And then you asked the further question, which I think Caroline's helpfully answered. The Land Registry APIs is Business Gateway, and as Caroline said, they have very good experience working with those in the team there. We have a fair amount of experience working with Land Registry's data, which we can also support on. So I think that's those two covered. So next one is for Nick, if you can find it, Ben.
I was just going to follow up on that with restrictions. In terms of grant funding specifically, there is a slight nuance with MFA, with the MFA threshold. So this is the minimal financial assistance threshold. So if you have raised over £300,000 in grant funding, I believe it's 300 or 315,000. It's up to you to declare that, to declare the equity-free funding that you get. It's not our responsibility. That's for you guys to declare. So there's a slight legal nuance there if you have already raised a lot of grant money. But I can follow up with people afterwards if they want to speak about that and jump on a call. So that's fundraising. There's some API questions here for you, Lewis.
I think we've just answered that one. There's one from Rupert that we need to, from Rupert. Are we limited to one application?
Tricky one. I would suggest so. In terms of reapplying for the program, no, but we wouldn't encourage people to apply with multiple applications for one program. I would expect that people have a strong value proposition that they believe in and they want to create a business out of it. It's not actually, not something that we've been familiar with in the past anyway. Nice, you're ticking them off as we go. We've got a much better system. Do I have to have an incorporated company to apply? Got an idea, prototype, but haven't done any thinking around the business yet. It's not required when you apply for the program, but when you are inducted onto the program and to receive the funding, you must have incorporated your business. So we love working with early stage companies. So it's not unusual that people are sorting that in between applying and inducting onto the program. So yeah, maybe the application and us, the result you get from us, and maybe the feedback if you're unsuccessful will help you kind of will help give some direction as to whether you should incorporate it or not as well. So yeah, not a problem, Ernest. Hi, can we apply as a social enterprise, GeoTech for good, like social humanitarian impact? Would you like to answer this one, Lewis?
Yeah, yes, you can 100%. There was the same requirement there that we would ask of a startup that is, aiming to generate revenue, which is how will you be successful? How will you achieve sustainability? What's that approach going to be? So yeah, 100%. But there is an element of understanding how you're going to achieve your goals, basically. Do you want me to take the next one, Ben? Because there's one on well validated. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it. Follow up. Go for it.
So next question from Miles. The application wording references well validated ideas. What is meant by this? I think for us, it's showing evidence that you understand this problem, this space that you're trying to target. So well validated might be a series of user interviews, good user research, talking to people who potentially could buy the product, find out effectively who is your customer, what's their pain points, what's their problems. We go through this quite a lot at interview stage, so it really does matter. Startups that do well typically can talk to who they've spoken to, what their problems are, why they've kind of thought this solution might work for them, etc., etc. Market research really isn't enough for us a lot of the time. If you're just going to put in a slide deck full of consultancy with things saying this is the TAM, SAM, etc., that's not good enough. We really want you to show with evidence, legwork that has let you validate that this idea is going to go somewhere. Don't know if Ben, if you want to add anything.
No, I think you've nailed that, and it goes back to the point that we're not too worried about having a product, and we hope validation is before a product rather than the other way around. So we encourage people to build with customers and not immediately try and sell to customers without that level of validation.
good.
I've got a question here from Hannah. How important is the founder's background to the application process? Alex said both founders had limited experience. What can we do to make it more reassuring to the decision makers in Geovation? So the founder's background, I suppose we look into what the founder's skills are. I think if we knew the formula for how the perfect founder, we would be billionaires. So I suppose every problem and every market is different, but we expect you to be passionate about what you're doing, and then also your approach. So like Lewis has mentioned about the validation process is a good sign of that. And yeah, have you got the skills and the resources to be able to push forward that idea as well? I think if you look at all our teams, they all vary. Some can be solo founders. I think some solo founders will struggle a bit more in the long term, because when you start to scale, everything's dependent on you, which actually is not that attractive for investors. And it's also a lot of workload. So always encourage that people have co-founders, although it's not going to be scored against you if you don't, but may give a better idea of how we assess how viable an idea might be and whether that team are the right fit. So I hope that answers your question. That was quite top line, but yeah, hopefully that's given you a bit more detail. Francis, I'm based in Scotland. Can I only apply to the Scottish version, Geovation Scotland? Yeah, we like to refer Scottish applicants to Geovation Scotland. So yeah, we would refer you there. And then people who are based and serving the English and Welsh market, we will take on. So I hope that answers that. Kirill, hi Ben. What are the eligibility rules for foreign startups? We do not have unlimited registered in the UK, but it's a very attractive market for us. Unfortunately, we do need you to be registered in the UK. So from a due diligence point of view, yeah, that would be highlighted essentially. Yeah, and Zoe, our tech has various different applications, so could solve various problems. Should we pick one pain point for the application? Yeah, I would suggest validation again is so key, and I would encourage you to be quite cautious about having developed like a load of tech and then trying to find a pain point for that. That in terms of growth can cause a few issues. So try and strip everything back, go back down to ground level and build it up, knowing that you can build that tech and you can deliver value to the problem that you're trying to solve. Yeah, it'd be a lot. Yeah, I would pick one pain point essentially. Grant, I've already built and launched and I'm continuing development of the product. Can I still apply? Yes, I think as I said, there's limitations to this. So if you've launched your product and you've got reoccurring revenue and you've raised a load of money or whatever it might be, then I would suggest you may not be a good fit for the program. Ultimately, we want to have impact on people, but built and launched could be built and launched a pilot, which would mean that there probably still is impact that we can make on you. But we tend to work with early stage. So I suppose I'm very happy to follow up Grant afterwards and we can kind of dig into that a bit more and just to see if that is the right fit or not. But yeah, we ultimately want people to be a success, but we also want to have impact on them as well. And hopefully we can deliver both.
I can take this one if you want.
Go on, go for it, Lewis.
So the question is, based on the presentation, demonstration, the problem to solve is better for scoring than talking about a specific technical solution. Is that correct? I think it goes hand in hand. Yes, we will judge you in part on the technical solution that you approach. If you think the technical solution is integral to the success of what you're doing, the reason that I say it in that way is sometimes, the tech doesn't matter. That there's quite a few ways of solving a problem technically. If you're saying that the tech solution is integral to that, fair enough. But the key point here is, if you don't have a key problem you're targeting, a key user group that's going to buy the thing that you're building, that's what we care about a lot more. We've seen it a huge number of times. Startups have amazing tech and they still fail, that they don't go on to succeed. And the key thing here is, you can have the best tech in the world, but if you don't have a customer to buy it, it doesn't really matter. So basically, when you think about that application, really drill down into who's going to buy it, who is this person that's suffering from the pain points that you alleviate, basically.
Thanks, Alex. I was going to ask if Caroline would like to answer one. I feel like there hasn't been as specific PropTech ones, but this one certainly is relevant. Hi all, are there specific requirements around the use of funding, and is it expected that applicants have a plan to deploy accordingly?
Okay, cool. No, there isn't. We don't ask you to split how you're going to spend your funding. It's expected that your funding is going to be used to develop your solution and your product, but we don't actually go in and say and check with you what you're spending the funding on. That's really down to you. Some people choose to pay developers. Some people choose to go and do some research. It's entirely up to them. We don't have a business plan that you have to set out what you're spending the funding on. I just want to go back to the Scotland question from Francis.
Yeah, of course.
So from the PropTech point of view, we have data for England and Wales. The Land Registry is the England and Wales Land Registry. So if you're based in Scotland, but you are looking to, for example, improve the conveyancing process in England and Wales, that wouldn't stop you applying for this programme. But if you're based in Scotland and looking to improve the conveyancing process for Scotland, then we would definitely refer you to Scotland, because the Land Registry couldn't really help you with that one. So I hope that sort of helps on that question a little bit. But happy to have a call if you want to, Francis, as well.
Thank you, Caroline. And Sonia, is being a solo founder detrimental to the chances of being a successful applicant? As a solo founder, how can I improve my chances? This will absolutely not count against you at application stage. I think the point I was making earlier was more to do with the growth and scalability, and it's good to have more than one person involved in kind of how an idea going to market. But in our current cohort, we've got Robert from Block Manager, who's on the PropTech track. He's doing amazingly well as a solo founder, and we've had past solo founders as well. So it's absolutely not against you at all. In the past, a really good use case of kind of how the community works. We took on a solo founder, Alessia from Safest Way, who, as I mentioned, there's the induction day in the morning. So she went to the induction day, and then in the evening, she went to the showcase event and met Ilya, who had no real, who was doing some work, I think, with OS at the time, and essentially became her co-founder, which is a really nice story about kind of how the community can work, and sharing passions and wanting to kind of build together, which is great. So yeah, I can't say nothing will improve your chances in terms of the application, because ultimately it's all about yourself, the idea, and everything else. And I wouldn't be pushing anything to change that between now and the deadline of the application. Jason, following up on the market research point, some of the text limits in the application mean you can't go into a lot of detail. Presumably you can give a high level overview on the basis you can provide more detail at later stages. I think if that could be some valuable feedback, firstly. I'm going to go have a look at that market research question in the application now. After this, sorry. And yeah, I would hope that there's enough to give a good overline view. There's also around market are multiple questions, which hopefully kind of bring a bit more perspective as well. So yeah, there's also always the opportunity to add a pitch deck at the end of the application, whether that's a pitch deck or just some documents about your market that you want to explain further. That would be a chance to kind of attach that. We also don't mark against people who don't submit a pitch deck either. So maybe use that as an opportunity to go into a bit more detail if you feel like you haven't been able to in the application questions. Thanks, Jason. And to the next question, do companies need to be incorporated prior to the program in case product and founding team are there? So this is something I think I answered prior. The incorporation of the company is to do with the funding, essentially. So if you want the funding and need the funding, you'll need to be incorporated prior to the program to receive that. We can delay the funding a little bit, a few weeks into the program, but we would like to think that people would be incorporated by the induction day or the week of, but not totally strict, but yeah, much more about the funding there. Mike, concern I have is our product is tied to helping unlock issues with the planning system. With patented AI technology, it's a solid solution to helping with the housing crisis. My concern is it does not really advance existing OS solutions as our USP is based on our own technology. And I think this could be a really good question for Caroline, and maybe more of a direction to HMLR rather than OS.
Yeah, so I was reading that question actually as you were talking. So for us, it doesn't actually matter that it doesn't go in with OS solutions, and I actually think it doesn't matter for GeoTech either. They don't specifically have to link to OS solutions. So I would say on that one, particularly as it's looking at the housing crisis, Mike, I'm not sure which area you're looking at, GeoTech or PropTech, but the fact that it doesn't align with or advance existing OS solutions has no bearing on this. So I would pick the track that you think it suits best and apply for that one. If you want to chat about that, I'm happy to do that also.
Thank you, Caroline. It certainly sounds a lot more like PropTech, but yeah, as Caroline says, definitely.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely follow up with Caroline. So on to the next one. What are the time commitments? Can I still have my full-time job outside of this whilst I build the business and eventually get to the stage where I can allocate all of my time? So this is a common question for applicants. We will need to understand that you have got the capability to push your idea forward. It's not unusual for founders to be doing things outside of the accelerator. Again, maybe a point back to being a solo founder. If it's just you by yourself, there's a lot of capacity required from you. So yeah, there's no one size fits all here, but we will just need to know and understand that taking you on, you're going to make use of everything available to you on the accelerator. And we also understand the fact that people have normal lives and they need to support themselves. So I'd like to think we give quite an honest overview of that. And yeah, I hope that answers your question, Jess. Zoe, sorry, our one pain point. We are currently in talks with a major utility about a co-development with them of the tech, and the pain point we go with for the pilot project should be driven by the customer, but their top pain point for co-development with us may not be determined by the 29th of August. Any advice? I'd encourage you to write about how you've got to this point, and in terms of talking to the major utility, like what's led you to this, what validation has got you to that point. I'd suggest there's got to be something for you to have to kind of enable those conversations and being able to kind of have conversations about building a pilot. So I would hope there's enough there for you to put into an application. I can't really give much more advice on that without knowing more about it. But maybe we could follow up. Zoe, I'm going to share my email, which I can do now on my LinkedIn. Sorry. So if you want to chase up on LinkedIn, I'd be happy to give a perspective on that. Jess, Hi, maybe one for Caroline. My product is for commercial property agents, but the end viewer of the output would be potential leases. A large proposition of my validation is from leases to see if this is something they would benefit from. If agents had this. Is this okay?
I'll jump in on that one. Hi, Jess. So that's fine. So you're looking at basically the output would be for potential tenants or lessees. That's absolutely fine if the validation is done on that. Just include whatever validation you have done. I imagine you may well have spoken to some of the property agents as well. So if there's room, just include that as well. That's fine.
Thanks, Caroline. And Kirill, a bit confused about the incorporation. Maybe worth following up with me, Kirill, about that. It'd be good to understand more about your business as well, if it's based abroad and you're trying to set it up in the UK. Yeah, it'd be good to understand whether you'd be a good fit for the program. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and yeah, we can get that answered.
I was going to say on that one as well, Ben, it's one where, you know, it's not just about being based in the UK, it's about validating your problem with, you know, people in the UK, with users in the UK. So yes, potentially, you know, what you're talking about would work, but you'd have to demonstrate that you understand how your problem can help people in the UK, not just lift and shift, basically.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great point. Thank you, Lewis. And Caroline's shared her email for those that wanted to get in touch in terms of PropTech. And I'd encourage anyone who wants to reach out to me, go via LinkedIn. And for anyone wanting to get in touch with Lewis about tech, be a good chance to become a Geovation community member and booking in some time with him. I hope that's answered everyone's questions. A reminder to go onto the Geovation website to apply for the Accelerator application. And that will lead you through to the Good Grants platform. It's where you'll need to register an account, start your application, which you can keep in progress, but remember to submit before the 29th of August. And finally, we love getting some feedback about these sessions to make them better. So if I can encourage you to scan the QR code, and that'll take you to a type form. And there's some questions there, which will just take a couple of minutes to fill out. But thank you very much for joining us. I hope you found that insightful, and yeah, best of luck with your applications.
Thank you.